don't have very large hands. They're kind of on the small side.
I think they're big enough, Jeff.
They're big enough these days.
They're as big as mine.
But when I was younger, one of the things that I took in high school was a typing class. And the thing about typing classes, they teach you home row keys, over and over. They tell you, put your hands on the keyboard this way and in this fashion, and you must use your pinky finger to type the A key and the semicolon key in order to teach you proper typing pose so you don't strain your wrists, and so you make sure you type things in rote patterns to create that muscle memory. The problem is, at the time, my hands were so small that I could barely reach the A key and the semicolon key. And I had to take my hands off the keyboard to push that particular key on that end. And everything that contained the letter A was a pain for me because this is now my left-handed pinky that I'm stretching to reach. So I would type fairly slow. And I was in danger of failing that typing class because I typed so slow compared to everyone else who had bigger hands.
The girls had bigger hands, huh?
Well,
most of them were they mostly girls?
No, it was a co-ed typing class. Everyone had to take it. And the only part I really liked about that class was the ability to make pictures. 40 of the semicolons, ouch. 72 A's in a row, ouch. Hey, a bunch of F's, a bunch of G's, cool. And in the end, you get Santa Claus on a piece of typing paper if you did it right. So I stuck out the class and I got through it. But I said, I'm never going to be able to learn how to type properly. Fast forward a few years later, I am getting into the online thing and I am on this role-play bulletin board system where you're writing interactive stories to people. My parents didn't understand what I was doing on the 300 baud modem, so I had to use the phone line late at night. And I discovered that if I turned all the lights in the room off and turned the television down to the lowest contrast and turned the screen into reverse color, because this was the Commodore 64 with its old black and white screen you could put on television, I could see, just barely, by the light of the screen and the letters on the screen. And learning how to type by that tiny bit of light, you started to get a feel, or I started to get a feel for where the keys were. And it didn't matter that I didn't reach the keys the way I was taught in typing class. As long as I knew where in the keyboard the keys were, that was enough. And over the course of the next several weeks and months in the summer, I taught myself how to touch type in the dark. Why this is important is because years and years of practice later, I type faster now than most people that I know, because I know inherently where all the keys on a keyboard are. I don't need to worry about pushing it hard because computer keyboards are a lot nicer than Remington typewriters. And no matter what the keyboard is like, even if I've worn the keycaps off, which I have in a couple of laptops, I know where the keys are. I got my first job doing data entry because I shocked the poor woman by showing that I could do data entry at 103 words per minute and regular typing at 85 words per minute. And she said, that's about probably the best I've seen typing-wise. We'll find you a job, no problem. The story has a second half if we have time later, but just thought I'd bring out the typing bit.
That's wonderful, Jeff. Wonderful.
Now, this particular story sort of goes with the first half story that I had about typing in the dark. And it takes place in a cave system in Calaveras County, California. They have this particular show cave that they do, where they take everybody down into the show cave, down this long and vibrating spiral staircase, where you keep feeling with all of the weight and all the vibration of everyone walking down the stairs, different cadence, the entire staircase is going to come down. And you feel the vibration that is set up there. And you worry that you're going to fall. And the stairway is going to collapse, even though thousands upon thousands of people go down the stairs every year. And you finally get down all the way beneath the surface. And you're in this cave. And the guide said, We are now hundreds of feet below the surface of the ground. There is no possible way light can reach us. The old miners used to be in the situation with only a candle to light their way. It would look a lot like this, and the tour guide would shut off all the exterior lights they put down here, and now he has a single candle. And they would work and mine in this quasi-darkness with all the rock and all of the dust around them. And he said, you can probably imagine, I don't want you to touch the ground because it's kind of dirty. That was the joke that he gave, and people would laugh a little bit. But sometimes when there'd be breeze in the caverns, even their candles would go out, and he blew out the candle, and he dropped us into pitch darkness. And he said, we relied on our sense of sight so much that people would fall to their deaths because of the holes in the ground, in the caverns, before we made it safe. And people would come down here and they'd lose their sense of sight because they were so accustomed to being in the dark and dim lighting so much. Now I challenge you, he said, if I stop talking, none of you will be able to find where I am at because you have no sense of sight and no sense of space of where things are in here. I do because I've worked here. And he stopped talking. And then he said, from somewhere else, I want all of you to take your finger and point in a direction at 30 seconds from now. That way, I guarantee that none of you will be pointing at me for where I'm at. Now, my sense of touch is kind of linked up with my sense of hearing in a lot of ways. And I didn't need to see where he was at so much as sense where he was at. And I just closed my eyes and listened. And I got a sense for the way the cavern echoed around, and a sense for the air currents on my fingers and on my hands. And I just kind of stuck my hand out and felt the air and the way it was moving. And when he turned on the lights again, I was pointing directly at him. He said, you got lucky. I said, nope. Even though I can't really see as you might think people can see, I could feel where you were. And he said, sure, do that again. Shut off the lights again. And he moved. And I knew exactly where he was at when the lights came up, because he had tried to go to the stairs. The idea behind touch is that you should be able to use your environment to feel, not just with your fingers, but with all of you and all of your senses. Believe it or not, my little bit of mystic magic.